Hello, boils and ghouls. Welcome to a very extra special edition of Dads in the Crypt. Today I'm joined by the creative force behind the Activated Man, Nicholas Gyeney, the writer director, and a poor freaking icon, Kane Hodder.
Jane.
Wow. Right now, almost. I'm already screwed up. I'm so nervous. Okay.
You understand.
This is my last broadcast.
You know where to find me. You
know where to find the body.
Sid Haig looking motherfucker.
If there's ever a synthetic biopic, I'll gladly do it.
Yes, you should.
But if you can't tell, we're actually in a room together, which is a first. I haven't been in the same room as my co-hosts, but here I am. Man.
Awesome.
So this is a huge deal. Thank you, Nicholas, for setting this up. We are on the eve of your new film, The Activated Man, coming out.
Sure.
So why don't you start off by telling us about your film?
Sure. So The Activated Man is it's an interesting, unique kind of horror movie. It's like it's half supernatural thriller and half emotional drama, basically about a man who loses his dog to cancer, and this dog was like a son to him. So the trauma of this loss essentially bursts open his third eye, and he starts seeing things on the other side that he thinks that he's losing his mind, but really he may be on the path to becoming a medium. And Haynes' character, Kane, plays the father of this character who's estranged from his son, and they come back together in explosive ways.
So this is kind of like a supernatural John Wick.
I wouldn't call it a revenge film per se. It's I describe the movie as Unbreakable meets Insidious 7. Because it's kind of, in a sense, it's a little bit of a superhero movie.
Yeah.
You know, about this man who's like in a spiritual awakening on his journey, and he comes into contact with these characters that are pushing him down this path. But then there's also this horror supernatural element, but approached in a grounded way. You know, we're not overly reliant on CGI. And then there's this subplot with a detective story that kind of weaves into the whole thing.
And of course, Tony Todd. Is this his last performance or one of the last?
It's his final leading. So he has a cameo coming up in the Final Destination reboot next year.
Okay.
But this is the last time anyone will see him in full, healthy, big condition, big role and good condition. You know,
And this is his movie. Really.
This guy. Knock your socks off in it. But Tony is a huge part of the film. Yeah, for sure.
Can you tell us about his role, how he got the ball?
Yeah, sure. So he plays a character named Jeffrey Bowman, who is essentially kind of like an Obi-Wan Kenobi type character. He's like a master psychic exorcist medium. And he takes this young man under his wing, experiencing all these things, losing his dog, and starts to essentially show him the way to the force, you know? And the way I got involved, it was really interesting. I really wanted both Kane and Tony for this movie from the beginning. I wrote the movie with them in mind I don't know if you ever knew that. But when I was writing the script, I wanted to find a way to create a movie that could give these two icons or some really dramatic, juicy stuff to work with, to give their fans a performance that they hadn't really gotten the chance to see from them, you know? And, Tony is very much not playing bad guys in a lot of his career and doesn't often get to show his human side. And this movie allows it to kind of that side and just chew on some drama. And the same for Kane's character. And so I reached out to Tony's manager and I, pitched him our film, and we sat down for lunch, and he took it to Tony, and the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah.
You tell me the inspiration for this film.
So this movie is pretty personal. I lost my dog to cancer when I was, it was like 4 years ago now, 4.5 years ago. And, Louis was like a son to me. And, we were together almost every day. He traveled with me. And when he died, it shook me to the core. I never experienced grief like that. And I lost my father when I was 12. And I thought, at the time, my dad's death was going to be the worst pain I'd ever experienced in my life. Like, I was like, okay, well, at least I've gone through hell at 12 years old, and I can move forward from here. And then I rescued this dog, and we kind of rescued each other. And I was going through a hard time in my life with like a bad breakup, sorts of stuff. And then I rescued him from this very abusive situation. So we kind of brought each other back to life. And over time, he kind of became like my son, And so after about 10 years, he died of cancer in my arms. And it was like a part of me died, right? And so I'm wrestling with this grief, and then COVID hits, and I'm like stuck in my apartment in Santa Monica, and I have this dream, and in this dream, Louis comes to me in this dream, and I don't know if it was my subconscious. I'll never be able to know if it was my subconscious wrestling with the trauma, or if he actually visited me, like some kind of spiritual visitation. But it felt like it was him. And he communicated to me, like, not like in like CGI 101 Dalmatians kind of way, but like kind of a telepathic thing, to tell the story. And I woke up, and this kept ringing in my ears, tell the story. And I remembered this interview that I read with James Cameron, where he was talking about how he came up with the Terminator. We had this nightmare about a metal skeleton on fire, and woke up and started writing this crazy thing. And so I said, okay, Louis, I'll start writing. And so I started writing. And so I started diving into, spiritualism and different belief systems and all this stuff, and kind of weaving this crazy tale. And so that's kind of how it came together. And so I think COVID, in a sense, helped incubate it, because I was trapped inside. The industry was kind of shut down. And so all I had was this script to put my energy into, and I just kept revising until it became, what it is.
Wow. That's amazing.
I can see why you wanted to pursue Tony, but why me?
Because
Honest.
I'll tell you, bullshit. Not bullshit. Well, I'll tell you what.
Tell us about your character, then we'll dive into that.
Well, okay. So
Go on.
No, man.
You wrote it.
So he plays Laszlo Gabriel, who is the estranged father of the main character, Ors Gabriel.
And by the way, why estranged?
Well, because they don't speak. They haven't seen each other for so many years, right? Because you stormed out, right? Because they weren't on the same page, right? And so they've been out of contact for many, many years. And but then as these events start happening, suddenly Laszlo starts coming back into the picture. So then questions start raising about why Laszlo has suddenly returned into Or's life. Don't really give spoilers about it, but Laszlo is a major part of the movie. He's it's pretty epic. And so when I was writing the role, first of all, it was the iconography of Tony versus, which I thought was a cool, special thing. And I know that you guys have done a couple projects together before, but not in this kind of like very poetic, like face-off kind of poetry.
Yeah, not at all.
So I felt that there was a real opportunity there to create something iconic between using your histories, right? But then also, over the years, I've seen you pop up with little things, and whenever I heard you speak, I always felt so much gravitas in your voice that you were just not given chance to really explore it in a character range. And so I'm a really big fan of like casting against type. So like there's this little crappy action flick from the early 2000s called Behind Enemy Lines, where they cast Owen Wilson as like the action hero. And I love stuff like that, where you're seeing somebody in an unexpected role, right? And so to see Kane Hodder, a man who has built the majority of his career off of being this silent murderer, right, or murderers, get a chance to like be this give this epic poetry dialogue. I thought was like I thought it would be really cool if we could pull it off, and I knew that we could, but I just didn't know if you want to do it. So I got lucky.
Amazing. That's the kind of thing every actor would want to do. It's like, you've been doing the same role for so long, same variation.
For sure. For sure.
Needing to get into it.
Having someone approach us and with an idea of tremendous amounts of dialogue, which I've never really had, in a film, few lines here and there, but to be able to say, this is a role that's just dialogue driven, which I've never had before this. A couple things like in Monster, right, playing the cop that arrested Charlize, and she won an Oscar for it and stuff. That's fine, but I only had a couple lines. But for someone to say, I think you should play this character with a lot of dialogue, I was amazed that somebody had that confidence in me. And
you know what else it was? I think so. When I would watch those roles like Monster and those little times you talk about, even though you only had a few things to say, I could tell that you put your all into those moments because you knew that it was few and far between you got to even speak, in movies. And so I saw this spark there that I was like, oh, he's waiting to be unleashed. He wants to show his Shakespeare, but he hasn't gotten the chance. And so this time, here you get to just monologue, and
that's why every interview I do talking about their film is I talk about the fact that you had the confidence in me to have that much dialogue, but also it's such an intelligently written film, which I'm not known for. Let's face it, most of my shit is, the crazy guy that comes in and kills everyone.
Sure.
And for someone to think, I think you should have more of a scene and more of a character. I loved the idea, and I couldn't believe that you felt like I could do it.
I mean, at the end of the day, I was a Kane fan growing up. Like, I loved watching his stuff. Even though like you watch the Jason movies and they have this tongue-in-cheek cheese to them, they're not Shakespearean old, but they have this iconography to them. And I just thought, maybe it was an arrogant ambition, but I was like, what if we can make like a really elegant horror movie, like somehow dramatically elevated?
Not just elegant, but intelligent. That's what I always say.
Thank you. And that is
something that,
take these two icons and put them into something like super classic and hopefully well written and well produced and all that, so that it could show, if all those fans could have like a treat, something special that that they haven't seen from before.
And we all know that any actor that's been around for any length of time loves to do something different than what they're known for. And I'm a stunt guy. I never was trained acting, dialogue, or anything. And just the fact that I'm given these kind of opportunities, it's amazing. A script that I now own all the rights to, which is a comedy.
Oh, wow. I bet you have some fun.
I've always wanted to do it because we were talking before we started this. I've done some comedy films, but as a stunt guy.
Sure.
Tom Hanks, I did Volunteers, which was a comedy. Nothing But Trouble.
Oh yeah.
That is just
I doubled Aykroyd.
really
As Bobo. If you remember that, the fat lady with the diaper and the galoshes. I played Bobo many scenes, and I just love even doing a stunt scene in a comedic movie.
like
Right.
Totally.
So,
Well, I gotta read this book now.
yeah.
This is gonna get off.
you and Robert the road trip and shenanigans.
That would be fun.
That would be
Well, it's a secret.
It is. let's not talk about that. Because I didn't get to do Freddy versus Jason with Robert.
Yeah.
We've known each other, Robert and I, since before either one of us was our iconic characters. And this would be such an amazing idea.
Awesome.
And the guy that wrote my book wrote the script.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah. So
That's very cool.
I think it'd be fun as hell.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going back to the movie for a minute, Tony Todd, were there any special memories that came out that you can think of, or Kane? I mean, you guys were plenty of movies together as well. Any special memories of Tony you want to share?
I mean, we didn't really have any scenes together in this film. Not much.
Yeah.
Very little, but I've known Tony for many years and, admired what he's done, conventions and stuff. But I knew that this was his film. That's how I
don't know. I don't really agree. I mean, I think it's an ensemble that's led by, these really folks. I mean, he really is underplaying how big he has. He's a major of this film. But I mean, Tony, Tony has a very powerful presence in the movie. And for me, I think the best memory I have is like on the day, take by take, he would have these moments of just Shakespearean gold that would come out of it. And I would just be like, oh,
did he ad-lib anything?
Not really. It was. This was so specific, with the subject matter that there wasn't too much room for that. But it was just the delivery of the lines in a certain take would suddenly take it to like a level like,
And it seems like when you watch the film, so many of the scenes that he's in are close to where you live.
Oh yeah.
Monica here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tony and I actually lived like 2 miles apart. He lived in Marina Del Rey, California. I lived in Santa Monica. A lot of the movie takes place in that area.
Right.
Yeah. That was
and
cool.
By the way, somebody just showed me a scene of a movie I did in 1984.
Oh wow.
In Santa Monica.
Oh wow. I was hard, but
yeah.
So embarrassing.
Wow, I'm gonna look that up. I've not seen it.
You got to look at it.
Yeah.
I was 29, and my screen credit is older.
Oh wow.
Because all the other geeks of the beach were younger, and now I was 29.
Was that like a Skinamax softcore?
Yeah, comedy and a lot of kids.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Nice.
And if you ever watch the movie, it's so funny because, this is how important continuity is on a film set. I did some scenes on the beach where there were girls dancing and a band playing. And then I end up getting pissed off at a guy and chasing him on a jet ski. And that was filmed 6 weeks after the first scene.
Oh, wow.
On the beach. So on the beach, I have a mustache and I go to chase the guy.
That's awesome.
I chase him on a jet ski and I now have a beard.
It's
because it was 6 weeks later and
they just did not want to hatch it. They don't even care.
Yeah, not at all. It's so terrible.
It's really funny.
But
cool.
That's awesome.
And those are the kind of things that like movie geeks just like the fine little stuff in the back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a bad movie even better.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, for sure.
I of course into the Jason character.
Yeah.
Tell me how you auditioned. How did you first get that?
Never auditioned.
Mm-hmm.
I did a movie called Prison with Rennie Harlan directing, who went on to huge things, obviously.
Nightmare.
Right.
5 or 4.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure. 4, I think.
Yeah.
But
we see what 5.
Right. It was a movie where I was the stunt coordinator. We shot in Wyoming. And Viggo Mortensen was in it.
Wow. That's cool.
And I did most of the stunts myself. I fell off a cell block and shot it in a prison that was not used anymore. And I did a bunch of things. I did a car crash and high fall and stuff. And Rennie and John Beekler, who was a makeup effects guy, said there's a character at the end of the movie that has to be in heavy prosthetics. And it's not going to be easy. It's only 2 days of shooting, but it's going to be, 3.5 hours of gluing on prosthetics, lenses, dentures, everything. Full body also. And at the end of the movie, I come out of the ground in an electric chair and do some scary stuff. Based on that performance, John Beekler was hired to direct Friday the 13th, Part 7, and said, this is the guy that's playing Jason. Told Paramount that. And they said, never heard of him. He said, trust me, this is the guy that should play Jason, because there had been 6 films and nobody had ever done more than one. It was 6 different guys. And Beekler insisted to Paramount, which, I've always been very thankful for that. But it wasn't just that I was a friend. He knew that I could play the character, and so I never auditioned. He just kept insisting that they hire me to be Jason. That's what happened. I did, and based on that, I did the next 3. So,
right. So, coming into a role that's played by so many people, how did you interpret any of those, or did you come up with something on your own, to make it your own?
Both. Yes, I didn't want to discount anyone else's performance because they did it before me, but I always thought that Jason could be a little bit more than what I had seen in the past. Mm-hmm. So when we started doing makeup tests and stuff, I would look in the mirror and look at myself in the makeup and move around and do things and think that, what could I do to add a little bit to the character? That's
when you came up with
the breathing thing. Which everybody always responded to favorably, but I was just happy to play the character. I was a fan of the character for that many years, and now it's me.
It's awesome,
unbelievable, and I never expected to do more than one movie because nobody else did.
And then how did you evolve the character going forward?
There's things I've talked about in the past with the performance that I always thought that when Jason is motionless staring at someone from previous films, it looked scary, but it didn't look like he was about to explode. Mm-hmm. So that's when I would look in the mirror and say, what can I do to stare, but then look like I'm about to do something, and came up with the breathing thing. And I think it helped make the character look so much more scary.
Well, with your body language, it essentially brought Jason to life. You could almost see the emotion inside of it, like the rage. I think that had not been tapped by other performances in the past. In a sense, a lot of the previous Jasons almost like they were hiding behind the mask, whereas the mask was a part of your Jason. Mm-hmm. It was right. So you felt. You were performing through it. It was very, very cool to see. I just rewatched it tonight, and it was just the 7th.
Yeah. My favorite.
Yeah, mine too. And it's just really cool to see how you just brought Jason to life in a way that had been done before. And of course, the look of the character too.
Yeah,
was I think the coolest of the whole franchise.
I agree. The makeup and the whole look of Jason in Part 7, I still feel is the best.
Yeah, and you come out of that lake, right? And it's like it's a whole new ballgame because it's like Jason's like big and full, and you just feel. And again, you're not seeing your face, but you just exude this energy of like, I am pissed off. It's really.
And it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also love how much screen time Jason has in the seventh one. Like he's in it quite a bit.
Yeah.
I really love. It's like because that's what you were there to see at the end of the day.
Right.
And like whenever you're on the screen, I'm like, yeah. And there's actually my favorite shot in the whole movie. It's like this overhead wide shot, and the guys coming into the kitchen to like get something from the fridge, and the light strikes, and you're standing in the corner.
Oh, I love that shot.
Yeah, that's so cool.
That is all Beekler coming up with something that a lot of people wouldn't notice,
right?
Because it's just a flash,
right.
And you say, "Oh shit, was that?"
Yeah.
I agree. I love that, and.
And there's no big music hit there, which is it's not like
right.
It's just it lets it play.
Right.
The silent killer standing in the wings, it's really well done. Yeah, really like it.
Yeah, and and then you add in the fact that I had so many great stunts to do as Jason.
Totally.
No other movie has Jason had to do that many stunts.
Which one was the hardest?
I mean,
probably the fire, but
I don't remember. I know you talked about it in the documentary a little bit, but I can't remember. Like, was there fear there for that big finale where you're lit up because of what you went through, or even because it was like that was that experience and these are pros? And
I think it was more that I got burned because of my own ignorance.
Okay.
Thinking I knew more than I did, and that's why I got burned. So that once I realized how a fire stunt should be done, it didn't scare me at all. Yeah. I mean, I did one as Victor Crowley. I did my favorite one is Jason in Part 7. Various other films. I was on fire in Charmed.
Oh wow!
Remember that TV show? Yeah, it's a TV show, and I was on fire, and you barely saw it because it's TV. So, but yeah, I there was never any apprehension about doing it because I knew how I fucked up, and I wouldn't do that again. I had the proper safety, and so many stunt people don't do fire.
Right.
Then I wanted to do something that kind of set me aside.
Yeah.
And as weird as it sounds, I always was, other than that one day, I was always comfortable being on fire.
Wow.
And that sounds ridiculous when I even say it.
What?
Because,
but that's your world. Yeah. Like that's
so you look at Daredevil as a kid.
Yes.
Okay.
I was. And, in high school, especially, I would do shit to scare my friends just to watch their reaction. Like, I grew up in the South Pacific in the Marshall Islands, and the high school basketball team, which I was on, we went to Hawaii to play some other high schools because on the island I was on, all the sports we played was against men's teams because we were the only high school. So that's difficult. So we went to Hawaii to play a couple high schools and see how we could do against them. And that's when, you know this, but we went to a hotel. A few of the teammates went to a hotel and went to the 35th floor of the Alamoana Hotel, and we were looking at the view from the balcony, and I thought, "Oh, this is a perfect opportunity." I climbed on the outside of the balcony just to fuck with my friends.
See, normal people maybe just look at the view. You know,
Right. I'm on the outside of the balcony, holding on to the railing with my feet on the deck. I say, "Hey guys, look at this!" And they started shitting themselves.
Yeah. So,
And of course, that's when I said, "What are you doing? What's the matter?"
my ass get to do this now.
And I enjoyed it so much just seeing their reaction that
There you go.
I thought, I got to do this for a living somehow, because
Wow.
I'm doing stuff for free that I would be paid very well for.
You know how self-aware and wise that he recognized that. You know, it's like I can get rich off this.
Well, that actually relates into another story from Friday 7 I read about. Late at night, you ran into someone.
Oh, in the woods? Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. I think they do.
Yeah.
We were, and tell me from a director's point of view, would this be difficult? I would think it would be. But Part 7 is the only movie I've ever done out of 180 films I've done where we shot all the interiors in LA on a soundstage, then went to Alabama and shot all the exteriors. Isn't that an incredibly difficult process?
I mean, not necessarily
For continuity, if nothing else.
Your team has to be on point. Like everyone has to be on game. Like every department has to.
Every actor.
And the actors and yes.
So if they walk out of a cabin in a certain frame of mind, and then you shoot the exterior of that exact scene 3 weeks later, that can't be easy.
No, but honestly, I think that is one of the big jobs of a director, because you're often shooting things out of sequence, right? So it's the job of the director to put the actor in the mindset, hey, we're doing this is picking up where we shot that thing. You're in the house. Now you're coming out. You're in that. This is the mindset you're in. But
well, I mean, that has to be difficult as a director to keep everyone's.
Well, I will say that I think there are two types of directors. I think there are types of director that sees them in their head, and like I've always been able to like visualize. I read somewhere that like only 25% of people can like visualize the world. It's really interesting. And then there's like technicians, right, who are really proficient at the shots and the cuts and all that. They might necessarily see the flow of the film in their head. Right. And so it's possible that in those situations, a director might be relying a lot more on his support to make sure the problems don't come up. You know what I mean?
Right. So point being that we did every interior shot of the film here on a soundstage, and then went to Alabama for the exteriors. And we were shooting it in Bay Minette, Alabama, on a bayou. Wasn't even a lake. So if you ever watch the movie again, they show the pier
interesting
early on, and then a shot later, you see the same pier, and the water level is 6 feet lower,
right?
Because of the tide in the bayou.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
And
like, that's an interesting pier dock or whatever.
Yeah, it's completely different. But we were shooting at the bayou, and base camp was a little bit away from where we were shooting some of the scenes, and I thought I was given a chance to go back to base camp and relax for a little bit, which is not much relaxation when you have all that makeup on. But I thought, I can walk around on the road to base camp, or I can cut through the woods, which is much shorter. And that's when I started to cut through the woods, and I kept the mask on because it was kind of cold. the hockey mask was on, all the makeup, and I'm walking on the path, and I see a guy that I don't recognize as a member of the crew. So I stopped and just stared at him, just to fuck with him. And he says, excuse me, are you with the movie? I'm wearing a fucking hockey mask and I'm in full makeup. Am I with the movie, really? So, of course, I'm going to fuck with him. And I just stood there and looked at him, and I did the, oh my gosh, head tilt. And he said, you're with the movie, right? So I lunged at him and he fucking took off.
Oh my gosh.
I never knew who he was, never saw him again. But people the next day, you've heard this, but said, hey, you know, that local cop never came to the set last night. I said, oh, really? Wow. I have no idea. So it was him. Yeah.
You know, I just remembered, just going back to what we were talking about with the anger, you know, and how you like really showed it, personified it through the body language. There's one part where it's like, it's towards the climax, and the psychic girl, I forgot the character's name.
Yeah.
She like
Tina.
She throws the table at the kitchen door.
Exactly.
And you rip it open, like in this it was so aggressive, and you just felt how pissed off Jason was. Right. Somebody could even get a lick on him, you know? Oh, it was thousand.
There's a rumor that when Jason Goes to Hell, that you were going to play a scene with Jason, playing as Jason's father.
Wow. Interesting.
The name was even big that is. Is there any truth or anything to that you can tell us?
There was discussion about it, and I kind of wish it had happened.
Wow.
But you know, it did not. Adam Marcus, you know, early on discussed it, and I said I'd love to, because you know, anytime you can do something off type like we've talked about is something that an actor likes to do. But yeah, I don't know if it was ever really considered, but I loved it.
Yeah, it's one of those unexplored mythos things.
Wow, nobody ever asked me about that.
Really,
That's absolute knowledge.
Anything about his father? That just seems like if we're going to go somewhere, go.
Speaking of unexplored, I actually had a Jason dream, like a career dream. Like I've been a huge fan of the franchise, since I was a kid. But one thing that I really want and wish for Jason is for him to get like his Logan. Did you ever see Logan with Hugh Jackman, the Wolverine?
I did.
So it's like, what I mean by that is like his really great film, like a great Jason film that is like filled with drama and gravitas, you know?
Wow.
And so my question is, if we ever got a chance to do that, would you play Jason one more time?
Oh, yeah.
I heard it here, folks.
You already know that I didn't want to stop.
Right.
I just was replaced and never given a reason, and
I think
which still
prime opportunities.
hurts
You like
the
that?
fuck out of me.
I know.
Just tell me why. Don't say it's because he wants to be taller. Not good enough, but whatever. But you probably don't know this. I think maybe I talked to you about this, but when we did Friday the 13th, Part 7 and Part 8, the scripts that we were given, the entire cast and crew were given, were not called Friday the 13th.
Oh.
They had a different title. Part 7 was called Birthday Bash.
Interesting.
And Part 8 called Ashes to Ashes.
Huh.
So it was never anything on the script. It was never Friday the 13th, Part 7, Part 8, nothing. And the killer within the script was not called Jason.
Fascinating.
It was called Ethan. And I have been told by, people that would know that there was always a an idea that Jason had a brother
Wow.
named Ethan,
That's interesting.
and that would be fun to explore. But
Yeah.
I don't even think I have my original scripts.
Oh, really?
I thought I did, but I looked for them recently, and but if you find a script that is called that, that is valuable because that is what we use to shoot the film.
Jason Gary. My name is Jason. My brother-in-law, Ethan.
That's hilarious. And
How many people have you?
You're not telling.
No, you can't.
on there.
Good choice. Don't ever divulge that stuff. Jason and Ethan. Wow.
That's good.
And, I would love to play Elias, even now.
That would
No, I think that would be, if we're going to do anything to bring back,
be cool.
that would be the way I would do it.
Nice.
Right.
All right. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time. Nicholas, tell us where people can find the activation.
Sure. So it's opening in select theaters on Friday the 13th. And it'll be playing in a few theaters around the country in select cities, a few in LA, East Coast, New Jersey, et cetera, et cetera. And they'll be hitting all the major digital platforms, Apple, Vudu, Amazon, Microsoft, et cetera, and cable on demand, like all over Canada and in the US. And,
On Friday 13th?
it's gonna be like trickle. Yeah. But so it's gonna start with like this limited theatrical run, and then by Christmas holidays, it'll be out everywhere.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And Kane, do you have any other projects coming up? You only want to real quick? Any appearances, conventions, etc.
Conventions all the time, obviously, and
well, now we're gonna go make a comedy.
yeah,
Right. Well, also you got your Specialty Friday podcast.
correct, with Felissa Rose and Tiffany Shepis, and a pilot for a show that I just did recently called Legends of Horror After Hours, which you can imagine what that is.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea
Sounds
to see some of your favorite horror actors, what their real life is.
So it's kind of like a round table, or
No, it's kind of behind the scenes.
cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Exactly.
That's very cool. That's very
So,
It's fun.
yeah. But I'm more excited about this film
Yeah.
than anything I've been in a while.
All right. Well, everyone, go check out Activated Man. Guys, thank you so much for having me. Audience, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate everyone for listening. I would really appreciate if you give us a rating or review on iTunes, a rating on Spotify, like subscribe on YouTube, and follow us as from the Crypt on TikTok. And with that, we thank you for listening to Ads from the
awesome.
Follow Dads from the Crypt on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or I will follow you to the grave. No, seriously, you really should watch. But be careful what you ask for. You may get it.